Hey Meredith, nice start here. I can see you're using Layer Mask for everything, which is perfect because, well, the assignment calls for that. But that's just the correct way to remove backgrounds, because I mean, you know why? Because you can you can always just turn it off, right? And then you will see then you can non-destructively you can go back and get the background, especially if it's just not something that's white. So I'll just enable this again. So a few things that I would suggest just straight away. I really like the way that I like your objects, though I would just really suggest not so much symmetry. When things are completely symmetrical, they tend to look static and flat. So I would really suggest thinking about angles of view and so on. And you've got, you already kind of have some perspective with the bottom of this this vase thing, this plant thing. So I would, and you can see the back ends are smaller because it's using 2-point perspective. So I would really work with that. For example, I would make, since this is the bigger side, I would really work with placing the objects so they kind of fit the same perspective. I mean, this means that the background, like let's say you want this part being closer. Let's see which one. It's this one here. If you want it to look, like it has more depth, then you just you scale it, right? So you make the objects in the back smaller. So then again, even right with that, now it looks like there's more depth. So if you did the rake a little bit bigger too, also need to finish the masking. You probably were in a hurry. Usually when people post late, it means they didn't have enough time to do stuff, which I understand. So, even if you do this and put it behind it, it starts to look like it's, there's more, I'm going to undo this though. It starts to look like it has more depth. So just be sure to have a look at that, in up here in the threads. Be sure to view this video because it really goes over some things that work and don't work. It's here too. So just going back with some of the stuff I've already showed you, hopefully you're viewing this stuff, because I know a couple you haven't been viewing the other stuff. So again, and the reason I'm saying this is that if you notice some of these examples, right? Notice that, see how we see two sides, but notice how the back wheel is smaller and the back arm is smaller. So it really does look like there's some depth in the picture plane, which makes it just more interesting. Without doing that, it just looks really flat. I would just really think about how you can, how you can really work with that. Let's see, even this one. Notice the smaller, leg and feet in the back. Same here. It's smaller because it's further away. Those are just the laws of perspective, pretty much. So that's definitely something I would suggest. When I zoom in, I'm seeing a lot of pixelation. So this is why I mentioned, going back and getting higher resolution images. These are pretty pixelated. They won't print out at all, and that's kind of the idea of this, so you have a printable piece. A lot of these need to be cleaned up. This needs to be removed. So you can see the differences here. This looks a little bit, this looks a little blurry, but this looks pretty good, but you can see the pixels. You actually can see the pixels here when you zoom in. So that's why it's so important to get higher quality images. There's another pretty big issue. It's the overall image is the wrong size. So it needs to be 8 by 10, not 5 by 3. So that's really important to fix that. It's also going to make it bigger, so it's going to make your images even more pixelated. So that's a little bit of an issue as well. So for this one, I would probably, you can rotate stuff. I mean, just because you have it like this, I mean, rotating, you don't need to have it like, like it's really, you can just move it and, rotate it. You can make it look like it's, has more personality by moving some of the, the objects around. I mean, this is what we're doing the rest of the class too. It doesn't have to be done all in 1 week, but just to really have a look, really think about how, how you want this to look. So again, they can be, rotated, all different ways. And again, even with something like this, it starts to look more like it's, a little bit more animated. Actually, I put a white layer because it's this dark color is really hard to see. We're going to be doing a background later. So yeah, so overall good start. Just some issues with the masks too. This looks pretty blurry, and down here, this kind of really isn't acceptable for a portfolio piece. So you might want to fix it, or you might want to look for another planter. There's tons of these online. Same with most of your images. You can really find tons of really good images online. I mean, so that looks like a a concrete or resin pot. So yeah, if you just I did concrete pedestal planters, and then if you just do a Google image search, I think I already showed you this. Then when you mouse over these, you can see the pixel size. This is 11. This is still pretty small because it's such a big element. That's way too small. Way too small. Way too small. So again, it just takes a little bit of research. Just keep looking. But the thing with doing Google image search, at least if you mouse over it, you can see the size. Like this is too small. It's only 400. So yeah, just keep looking. You can do different searches. 600, that's a little bit small. You really need something over 1,000. 2,000's even better. I mean, this one's okay, but it's not the whole thing. So just keep searching. Let's see. That's way too small. So yeah, it's really important to get a good start on this, on this assignment. I mean, you could go photograph one yourself. That's another option. You could even, just do pedestal and then see what you get to with that. But anyway, so the idea is to get really high quality images before you start to do even all this more work, because it's already kind of hurting your overall presentation, because when you get bigger and when you think that this needs to look okay to be printed. So if the images are too small, it's not really fulfilling the client specs and all that stuff. Okay, so anyway, yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I would the next thing, you don't have to have the same kind of water thing for each like representation of an arm. There's just a lot of different things you can do. You could even, use different tools. There's so many different garden tools. You might want to throw some plants in there. That actually, really works too. I think that also the, where is it? Like this is the one that's in the video example too. All different plants, but see how they all fit together, and they actually create a caricature that really flows together and really works. Here's another one, but again, you can mix up some of the, the other elements with other garden elements. Let me see if I can find another one. I mean, she did a really good job on the caricature, but the background's not working. But again, just, have a look at some of these in that video that I posted. Yeah, this one didn't come out that great. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I know your post is late already. You're probably not going to have a chance to revise this before it's due, but there's going to be point deduction, so you may want to try to revise this as soon as possible. Before, because next week, and then we have a week off, so if you could get this revised for, to turn in your next assignment, even though we're not going to really have the whole week, right? So you actually have you have a little bit of time to work with this and revise it. Okay, so overall, I like what you've got going so far. Need to clean up the mask. Need to do some work on the size. And yeah, everything I mentioned. Okay,